Hello and welcome to yet another video of One-to-One, where we interview specialists and professionals of their field, giving you the best advice possible. In our last video we talked about commercial real estate. In this video we're going to talk about fiscal and expatriate services. So who best to give you this advice than Eurofinesco? Raoul, first off, thank you very much for your time, for having me here, for having us here in this case.
Thank you, you're welcome. Yeah. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so tell me, who is Raoul Ruiz Martinez?
Well, I'm a senior financial advisor here, based in the Algarve. I've been here for, over 15 years. 15 years, moved here for essentially the sunshine, the good weather, and a different pace of life. It's very relaxed here in the Algarve, as you know, Jérôme. And you bring that sort of hard-working mentality from the UK and come bring it here. It works very well indeed. So I decided to take a bit of a risk. I brought my family down here. I have since 2 children born here in the Algarve. So we've integrated our lifestyle here, that's Raoul, essentially. That's where I am, and this is where I am today. But I'm heavily involved working with Eurofinesco here, who are the tax advisors, and they have accommodated my lifestyle here, working for them, working within their offices. And the 2 owners of Eurofinesco, Wilson Hamilton and Dennis Swing Green, asked me to have a chat with you on their behalf today. About all the great work they do here in terms of providing support, solving people's problems. That's the kind of service that they do here. Everything in English. That's the first and foremost language spoken in this office. It is English. It's an international office. I like to think it as an international office. But we're very much in the Algarve. And nationally we have a wide spread across the country, but our head office is here, and most of our staff are Portuguese, so they're dealing with the tax authorities here, and the functionaries, they must speak excellent Portuguese, obviously, and in writing, understand the letter of the law. And then we produce that here in English for our different clients. We do speak different languages, we can accommodate different languages, but first and foremost, as it is with most businesses and most people travelling, especially in the Algarve, it is English. We try to tailor exactly what they need. It could be anything from getting a residencia, documentation, a driving licence. A lot of the services that we don't provide in-house will outsource to various partners and colleagues. But if something turns up, you don't want to be driving up and down the road or surfing the internet to try and find a service provider. You don't want to move from your home to here to make this your new home. And knowing or being unaware of your tax or your financial or fiscal obligations.
So as you said, Eurofinesco tailored services, this covers a variety of things, from people that are planning actually to do this, to come down here. How would you consider your services to be here at Eurofinesco for a client seeking out your help?
That's an excellent question. Everybody's different, and in that sense we do individualize. So, as you mentioned, people making that move. There are other people that aren't making that move, but they want to step their toe in the water. So they come to us. They may want to buy a property to rent it, and that's all they want from it. They want an investment opportunity. So they'll buy a property and they want to look at the best ways of doing it. So we can really give them a good picture of a good legal practitioner, a good estate agent, a good property manager, what compliance means, and put it clearly in those terms. So, for example, if you were to talk about the evolution of man, if you were to talk about the evolution of a foreign national coming to Portugal, they might be non-resident, they might buy a property, and they might hold it for 10 years and have a good return from it, and then they might decide, oh, actually I want to retire to Portugal. So we would help them with that as well. So they would come in, they start off as non-resident, becoming resident, and they might spend another 20 years here. And after that they may move on, making the contact, coming to speak to us, standing at the door and saying, how can I help you? Sitting across from the client and listening to what they're saying, and then breaking that down and understanding it and feeding it back again. And eventually, with all financial planning and advice in a sense, you've got to give that, and you've got to listen to see how they take that advice and understand what I suppose, what motivates them to do it. And as an advisor, if your intent is genuine and it's the right idea and you're not simply a commercial machine, then that client will get there with you.
It's creating a whole plan for them to navigate safely. Right?
Exactly. That's well put. To navigate safely and to understand the pitfalls. For example, some people don't ask all those questions, so we have to raise those issues. Some ask all of the questions. So some people, I speak to people, and sometimes it's 2 years before they make a step.
I understand. I believe that the main function is focusing on the client's needs and servicing those needs. So most companies, they just tend to focus on their own services, but not necessarily on what the client 100% needs. What is the main essence of his problem? Understanding that, servicing that, definitely, as you said, that is the structure for the company continue well.
Yeah. And as you say there, it's understanding that person and what they want to achieve. And I think that does happen without sounding negative. There are lots of people, not necessarily in Portugal, but anywhere doing business. They certainly see it from their viewpoint, and they have a business and they want to succeed. But it's not. It has to be a collaboration with the client always.
Definitely.
You can't just be a one-way street.
Well, tell me something. If you would consider investment in Portugal and someone that is seeking to change their lifestyle, do you consider Portugal to be a country, or even the Algarve, a region with a very good potential, strong potential? How would you classify the investment potential here for anyone seeking it?
Very, very good. Very sound and solid. I think the Algarve itself has a microeconomic climate. So what we see in terms of property prices and particularly those aspects, job growth and so on, it follows a very similar pattern everywhere. So we're seeing very low levels of unemployment. That certainly is coming through here in Portugal and then through the Algarve. But yes, I think it's an excellent place to diversify, let's say, if you're an outsider. Even if you're a non-resident, if you're a Brit, for example, and you're concerned about Brexit, we've seen an initial reaction to move away from this market. But actually, with one foot in the water, maybe, or one leg in Portugal, in Europe, certainly we would diversify and hedge the risk of there being a Brexit and having two places. For example, in Portugal you can have dual nationality. So many Brits are moving into that area. So having a Portuguese passport and a British passport, for example. But in the likes of Holland or Spain, they don't allow that. You can only have one nationality. So these are the kind of nuances and small bits of information that we like to transmit to clients to see if they really want to. And certainly Portugal is a very safe place to live. It's ranked third in the world in terms of peaceful locations. Has a very bright and breezy Atlantic wind, as it's been recently. So in terms of, I suppose, pollution or let's say too many people, there's plenty of room here for living and for growth.
Okay. Well, I think the only question right now is, what would be your best free advice for anyone coming down here to the Algarve?
Best free advice is to have a look at the Eurofinesco website. It's not the best, but it has excellent publications. Very, very good publications. That's free.
What is the Money Minute?
Money Minute. Money Minute is everything you need to know about money in just 1 minute. Okay. So it's tips, tricks, ideas for largely around people living in the Algarve, Portugal as well. In English. We ran it for over 5 years on the Kiss FM radio. There's tons of old recordings on the Money Minute Facebook page, SoundCloud, that sort of thing. Very useful information. And what I tried to do is look at things in a sort of seasonal sense as well, because obviously for the non-residents investing in property, there's some very interesting tax breaks which are relevant to property rental here in Portugal, but also getting people up to speed with what they need to be compliant with, how they report their taxes here, how they can save money in many ways.
You say you ran it for 5 years. Are you still running it, or?
Well, what I've decided to do is we've put this on hold for a year, and I'm going to refresh for the new year. A lot of the content becomes cyclical, but indeed a lot of the news and lifestyles are changing. So getting that and the way technology and media is working, we're going to try and broadcast it in a different way. It's not proprietary to KISS, although I do another show on a Sunday I've done for the last 10 years.
Okay, what's that?
That's I call that Raoul's Rant. It's not very ranty, but it's on the ONG Solid Gold Sunday show.
Okay.
It's always after the lottery numbers. So that's a kind of live chat. Money Minute was always recorded and informational. So what I'm going to try and do, hopefully next year, and maybe work with you, Jérôme, into producing something for media that we can put up there that will provide people with podcasts they can listen, maybe tune in at a certain time depending on what it is, but maybe something relevant and more up to date than the old historical content.
Now, all of the content that you already created, how can people have access to it? I mean, because there are probably tons of golden tips and informations and stuff on there. So how can people access that?
A few ways. One, through the Money Minute Facebook page. It's still we still keep an eye on it. So occasionally we might get some questions and queries come through. But what I've had is the SoundCloud up there, and those minutes are recorded and there for people to sort of read through or listen through, really. So that's another thing. And the other aspect through Eurofinesco is their online library, which has almost 400 publications. So the Money Minute has loads of listening content on SoundCloud, but Eurofinesco website, which is a lot of the information that I relied upon, is at their website, which is free. So all you need to do is go to the website. So you've got the Money Minute Facebook page, easily find that, Money Minute Portugal, and the Eurofinesco.com. If you go into the publications section, then there are plenty of content to be had.
For these and more details, follow Eurofinesco on their social media and on their website. And for us, don't forget, we are Together for Success.